It's still weird. There's a lot of weird stuff in this film. It dials up the brutality. I mean, this is a horror film with a capital H.
To be corny, my kid and I, we clapped at the end. We loved it. My kid looked at me and he goes, "This is a fucking masterpiece."
Mike stole it from me. I was going to say, this is the Empire Strikes Back of this sort of like Rage trilogy. Friends and listeners, you have a brand new episode of Watch Skip Plus. We want to be your go-to movie source for insightful and pop-cultured movie reviews. My name is Cupcake. I'm joined by my co-host, Mike the Wildebeest, and we have a special guest. Mike, do you want to introduce our guest?
Yes, from one of our favorite podcasts, Caliber 9 from Outer Space. One of the co-hosts and the creator, really himself, Rob Spencer.
Hey guys, good to see you. I haven't seen you in so long.
I know. It's been like 8 hours as in joke, folks. So basically, Mike and I guested on Caliber 9 from Outer Space with Rob and his co-host Joe. And we talked about some pretty crazy movies. Yeah. Troll 2, which has quite the cult following. I had never had the pleasure before, but I do now. I saw it like 4 times before we recorded. I mean, it's so crazy. And then something called the Beaver Trilogy, which, once that episode posts, you guys should definitely listen to it and then try to hunt down the Beaver Trilogy.
Yeah, it'll be coming out the 30th.
Towards the 30th of January.
The 30th of January. Okay, got it. So just for the friends and listeners, do you want to describe Caliber 9 from Outer Space if nobody's heard of it or would like to explore it?
Thank you. Yes, Caliber 9 from Outer Space. So it's Joe and I. We cover a double feature of cult movies every week. Cult is a loosely defined term for us. So lots of genre cinema, lots of horror, lots of crime, lots of Italian stuff, Hong Kong, all sorts of things.
Fun.
Down to stuff like Beaver Trilogy, which is just like a sort of indie American kind of an unclassifiable thing, isn't it, really? Beaver Trilogy. So, yeah, we always have a guest on. It's always good fun. We had great fun with you two guys last night talking about those 2 films. Come and check us out.
Awesome. We'll definitely put a link in the notes.
Right.
But, you guys are audio and we're video, so people didn't get to see me doing the troll dance with the sister.
Or the Garfield, that was the best.
The sister dance, amazing. At any rate, Rob, you guested when we reviewed the first of this trilogy, 28 years later. Mm-hmm. And so do you want to introduce what we are reviewing today with you coming back?
Absolutely. We are reviewing today 28 years later, The Bone Temple, 2026, directed by Nia DaCosta.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even realize until the end credits came up, and I was sitting there thinking, oh, Danny Boyle, this is great. Oh, it's Nia DaCosta. I forgot about that.
Wah, wah.
It did not feel like a Danny Boyle movie. It really didn't.
It didn't. I was surprised. I was like, oh, he's really controlling himself here.
Yes, indeed. So, for the friends and listeners, if you want to, we did a whole episode where Rob guested on 28 years later, the third film in the 28 ... Rage Zombie franchise. So there was 28 days later, 28 weeks later. So then we skipped months and jumped right to 28 years later. And that was not only a continuous sequel, but kind of the start of a trilogy. Danny Boyle directed the first film. We do have the same writer, Alex Garland. So if you want to know more about them, you can check out that episode. But as Rob mentioned, our new director is Nia DaCosta. They actually hired her and filmed this back to back, which is, I think it's great for the actors, of course. Nia DaCosta, I love her. She is from New York. She's Jamaican. Little Woods was her first big film, and she even went on, I think, to direct a couple episodes of a British miniseries. Maybe this is where Danny Boyle and such had experienced like her directing prowess. But curiously enough, what I love about Nia DaCosta is she was the first Black female director to open a horror film at #1, and that was Jordan Peele's produced Candyman reboot, which she did a great job on. And then she became the first and youngest Black female director for the MCU with the Marvels. So you can see I'm
That's
wearing
why you're wearing
the
it.
Marvels hockey shirt here because I absolutely love that. It, honestly, it wasn't a success for the MCU, but Nia DaCosta became the highest action Black film director based on that film, which is great. What are your thoughts, Rob, on Nia DaCosta? Have you seen her other films, Candyman, The Marvels, Little Woods?
I have not seen the Marvels. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I did not. I'm a bit over, not because I don't want to see the Marvels per se, but I'm a bit over Marvel in general. Not, I just haven't been interested enough to check any of them out yet. I'll probably get to it at some point. The only film of hers I'd seen was Candyman, and I wasn't really a huge fan of that Candyman. I thought it was okay. It didn't really quite work for me. So the jury was out for me on Nia DaCosta. She's really highly thought of and has her real devotees. Again, I'd like to say I went in wanting to see how she went, but as I just admitted, I thought it was Danny Boyle anyway. So this was all a bit of a surprise. So I'm not going to give away my reaction yet.
Mike, Nia DaCosta, your thoughts?
Yeah, I've not seen Little Woods. I had to remind myself if I'd seen it. No, I've not seen that, but I've seen everything of the other films. And I've always liked her. I like her style. And without blowing the load, really, this might be her best. She's really showing that she can take material that we're in a world we're familiar with, but make it her own. So
nice.
That's why I was shocked you were like, you saw it and thought this was a Danny Boyle flick all the way to the end, because it really had its own
it was just preconception. I for some reason really thought it was, and so I went in there and I was thinking, this is different for a Danny Boyle. No, I agree with you on her. I think this is really impressive.
Well, I think it's still adopted the look and the feel. So our DP is different also. Anthony Dodd Mantle often works with Danny Boyle, and they are definitely experimental. They love different media. They love shooting things different ways. Our DP here is Sean Bobbitt. He is British by way of Texas. He was born in Texas and then they moved to the UK. But Bobbitt is probably best known for his work with Steve McQueen, the Black British director, not Bullet Steve McQueen or The Getaway Steve McQueen. Films like Hunger with Michael Fassbender, if you've seen that, 12 Years a Slave. Bobbitt has also lent some other films too. He's awesome, but he has worked with Nia DaCosta on The Marvels, and then they jumped right to Hedda, which is her last film that was released. I forgot to mention that. That stars Tessa Thompson. It's streaming now on Prime if you want to see it. It's fantastic. It's an update of Hedda Gabler, but they work really, really well together. I love Sean Bobbitt as a DP. Thoughts on Sean Bobbitt, Mike?
Yeah, I know him as
Rob? Yeah.
I know him as the Steve McQueen guy. So yeah, it's again a little bit like the difference in director. The difference in cinematographer here is perhaps a little less flashy and showy than Anthony Dodd Mantle, which is not good or bad, but it's just a bit more of a orthodox approach, less varied in what he does, but always super solid. The stuff he's done for some of those real small, intimate dramas like Shame is a McQueen film I'm a fan of, and really well shot.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then music. Our music in the first film was by I believe the Young Fathers. I love that soundtrack. We have Hildur Gunnardóttir. I believe she won the Oscar for Joker. But before we get into the spoiler-free review, I think that this film is very, very heavily serialized, meaning if you haven't seen the first, at least 28 years later, you will definitely be lost. I know I revisited it. And, obviously we reviewed it together the first time. Rob, I know you said on the recording last night that you didn't rewatch 28 years later, but you did read a summary of it. Thinking back on that film, any new thoughts or commentary about 28 years later going into this that maybe you didn't see the first time around?
Yeah, I think... Well, there was one of the things that struck me about the first 28 years later was some of the plot inconsistencies or things that were a bit inexplicable. And we talked about this when we talked about that film, where I was saying, I hope people don't pick holes in it too much because it's not really something that bothers me. Now, in this film, I was kind of hoping two mysteries would be solved. One was all this stuff about why was 28 weeks later, why is nothing consistent with what was in the first sequel to 28 Days Later, which isn't really resolved. I'm now wondering if they've just skipped it in the canon, because it doesn't seem to have happened.
I think they did.
So what's curious is there is a snippet of 28 weeks later in 28 years later. And I don't know if they're going to hold that for 3. We'll definitely get into that, because there is a science issue that comes up in this one, which maybe gets revisited in the 3rd. But did you any other further thoughts?
The other one was, obviously, we talked about the ending to 28 Years Later. I don't know if we want to spoil that too much here, but I was a bit like, all right, Alex Garland, I'm with you. You better explain this shit in the next film.
And
I think it does. Yeah. Pretty well.
You know what? I think we can spoil it, because quite honestly, I think you need to see that first film. So we all were like, WTF with that ending where Jack O'Connell comes out as Jimmy. And you had mentioned, and I think Mike mentioned, he's based on Jimmy Savile, I think.
Jimmy Savile. Yeah.
Jimmy Savile, who is sort of like a notorious pedo, I guess.
Yeah, it's a weird. I don't know what's going on there. It's interesting, because I think this is like an alternate timeline. So it's almost like when this sort of zombie outbreak happened in this film and in this timeline is kind of before Jimmy Savile was ever exposed as a predator, which only happened.
Got it.
What, 10 years ago? Not even 10 years ago, a few years ago here. So at the time when this kid was watching Jimmy Savile, he would have just seen him as this kind of heroic, idolized this guy probably, which is why he's picking that up. But it's obviously playing to our knowledge now that he has kind of instinctively donned the garb of a predator, because that's what he is.
And curiously enough, like I as a U.S. citizen, obviously, and not knowing who he was, that would obviously signal to a UK audience like yourself that, this is not a man to be trusted, because he shows up in that garb, right? Yeah. Mike, did you revisit the film or watch it before?
No, I didn't revisit it because, it was what was it? Not even 6 months ago?
Not even 6 months ago. Yeah, true.
Yeah, it's pretty fresh in my mind. But I took my son with me, so we talked about the first film a lot and like what we remembered. And I didn't take him the first time to see it. He's almost 17. So yeah, it was fun to talk to him and kind of see how he saw the first film. A lot of the things that bugged me about the film, actually, like Rob said, a lot of the little weird nitpicks, like the whole Power Ranger ending, all kind of make sense.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice. Yeah, it all kind of pieces together, except a few things. So I think we will discuss in our spoiler episode. But yeah, there's little nitpicky weird things that don't quite get explained that I think are going to get explained in the third film.
So I revisited it, and I was definitely struck by how there's a lot of like levels that the story is doing. So you can look at it as this sort of like coming of age and this kid discovering things about his parents, like we all do. But then also, I think what really struck me on the second rewatch was this is very much about society essentially starting over from the beginning. It's interesting that we see these like old school images of people storming castles and things like that. And it's sort of like saying like, okay, we've reset now. And I think what was interesting was, especially with the bookends of the religious sort of like symbolism and themes and things like that, is that it's like, well, what does something like this apocalypse do to our outlook on God or a bigger power in terms of, is there something out there affecting us? And I think that's a great lead into our spoiler-free thoughts. So I'll start with our guest, 28 Years The Bone Temple. Rob, what were your spoiler-free thoughts on this film?
I think it's a triumph. I absolutely loved this film. It landed the first one for me. Like I said, I was a bit uneasy about the ending. Really enjoyed that film, but I was like, what is going on here? And I think what it was, what we find out, and this is not a spoiler to say, is the thing that was jarring really about the ending was not the fact that a bunch of people dressed as Jimmy Savile turned up. Not really, because lots of weird shit is happening in this post-apocalyptic world. It was really the way Danny Boyle had shot and edited it. It kind of turned into a Kingsman film in the last 2 minutes, and it was really weird. And now I really welcome Nia DaCosta's approach. I'm really glad she directed this one, even though I am really looking forward to seeing Danny Boyle come back for the third. I think that's the plan, because she's just grounded it and made sense of all that and all that sort of Brechtian flourish that Boyle was putting into the first one, like the Henry V footage and all the stuff that he was throwing in there.
Yeah.
That's just his style. He experiments, he pulls you out of the film, shows you that you're watching a film, invites you to sort of think and comment maybe on what the film is doing before then going back into the story. Whereas this is much more traditional. You're in the story, and all the Jimmy stuff then fits within the world. It's still weird. There's a lot of weird stuff in this film, but it dials up the brutality. I mean, this is a horror film with a capital H. It's nasty. Like, be ready, guys. Fellow gore hounds like me out there who love their horror, you're going to get a lot out of this one. It's scary. It really is scary. It's full of dread. Fantastic performances. I mean, I can't really fault it. I found it a fully satisfying experience, and I was just so glad. And yeah, the only thing is, I got to the end and I thought, this is Danny Boyle's best film in years. And I'm like, oh no, it's not Danny Boyle.
Yes. So just a couple questions, and I'll move on to Mike. It's been in the trades that Nia DaCosta asked Alex Garland to include more of the infected in this sequel. Did you feel like the infected were included enough, or does this feel more like a human regrounding and a focus on separate characters versus the sort of all-out action / coming of age of 28 years?
Good point. The horror in this film is not so much from the infected, is it, actually? It is more from, well, it's going back to the theme of the first one, the 28 Days Later, I mean, and the Romero zombie films, where people are the real monsters, and that's very much the case here as well. They are so breathtakingly horrific, though. I kind of, until you mention it now, I kind of didn't notice that it wasn't really the infected that were the source of the terror. In the film. So yeah, I don't know how I feel. The only issue I've got with the treatment of the infected in this film, and it goes for the previous one as well, I don't understand how a lot of this works. The Ralph Fiennes character, for example, and this is not a spoiler because it's all in the previous film as well, I'm not sure how he's surviving. I don't get the logic of that. I don't understand why he's not just attacked every night. I don't understand, for instance, how the Jimmies seem to just get by without ever being infected. I mean, this thing is virulent. You get a bit of blood on your skin, you've got it. So the film seemed to have willfully just done away with some of that and just hand-waved it away and said, don't worry about it, which, to be honest, I'm fine with. That's not a problem for me. But if you ever ask me to think about how that works, I'm not sure it does. It's not important to me. It's a story. It's telling its story. It's fine. But it is a weird thing about this series at this point, because it is so realistic in the way it portrays certain situations, and the characterizations are deep and well wrought and all that kind of thing. But then certain logical inconsistencies are just lived with. So it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, definitely. Mike, your spoiler-free thoughts. What did you think of this?
To be corny, my kid and I, we clapped at the end. We loved it. My kid looked at me and he goes, "This is a fucking masterpiece." And I go,
yes.
It's pretty damn great. Yeah, I loved it. I did. I really did love it. I love everything you talked about, how we go from filming with a bunch of iPhones giving us this jarring kind of over the top, and then we have Young Fathers, which I love. I've re-listened to that soundtrack recently, and we don't have any of that boots. We don't have all this kind of disjointed, because the world's already been established. So at this point, we don't need any of that. We understand the world that they're living in. We understand the fake life that they're in. We know from the first film that there's a life outside of this island that they're on. And so we're waiting for another film coming. So again, this is just beautiful. The grounding of these characters, seeing Spike, just seeing him on this journey that he has to go through. It's just a wonderful, humane, horrifying, violent, gory, like it's up there with like some Rob Zombie stuff. Like there's a definite scene in here that reminded me of Devil's Rejects, where I was like, wow. And my kid had to close his eyes. My almost 17-year-old was like, oh my gosh.
I think we all did that. I know exactly what scene you're talking about. I think we all did that.
Like the violence isn't just there for fun. It's not just seeing ravaging like zombies just going crazy. Some of this violence is just hits you in the gut. So, but all together, I love the humanity. I love the characters that we're following, and I love that it's basically two movies split into two. It's two different acts of the same kind of story. So you got to watch that first film, because this literally is like, it's almost as if the film just keeps going. You're just jumping right back in exactly where it ended. And I love that about it, the whole serial feeling of it. And I know people are going to say this, but it's like The Empire Strikes Back to Star Wars. It's very different.
Oh my God. I knew
it was coming.
You stole it from me.
You knew it was coming.
I know.
It felt like that to me, and I don't want to overhype it for people, but I think that because while it is Star Wars, it's not as grandiose, it's not as different. It's more about the story and where they're at. The characters have already been introduced.
Sure.
And that's why I liked about this. And it just grabbed me by the balls and the heart at the same time. I mean, it's great. I can't wait for the third. I just can't wait.
Yeah. Speaking of balls, there's balls everywhere also.
There's a lot. Oh my gosh. Yes. There's a lot.
Mean, did they reduce the size? Because I thought they reduced the size just a little bit.
Were there complaints? Were people like, hang on, we're feeling inadequate. Come on, guys. Make it a bit smaller.
I know, they were like, dial back the alpha dick. But just really one follow-up question for you, Mike, and then I'll give my thoughts as well, which, by the way, it's pretty much just going to follow what you guys have said. Ralph Fiennes has top billing here. And not only that, he shows his alpha dick too, folks. So just be warned. It comes early. But
it's got iodine on it too, I think, doesn't it?
Of course. But kudos to his physical trainer, who's, by the way, credited in the closing credits. But Mike, so obviously there is a narrative shift. We get the Jimmy, we get the Spike, we get all that stuff because I think we need it after that ending for the first film.
Yeah.
But what did you think about Ralph Fiennes' storyline here? Like Rob had mentioned, some of this is a little crazy and a little off the wall.
I loved that story. And I don't want to really spoil it because I think it's magical to kind of see the way that his storyline, when he's by himself at the Bone Temple. And it becomes, I guess we could say, almost like a buddy moment. It becomes a buddy movie. And I loved that. And that really grabbed me by my heart. And I thought that was really awesome. So I loved his storyline. If this would have been released the same year, he's definitely getting an Oscar nomination. But it sucks that they're splitting him into separate years because this performance really deserves a lot of fucking accolades.
I agree.
So goddamn good.
He is.
Give the man a nom.
I love Rafe.
Yeah, I love it so much, man. After that, there's a great finale with him, and I was just like, I wanted to scream. I loved it so much.
He's so good in this. I was like, wow. All right, so my spoiler-free thoughts. Yeah, this is incredible. Mike stole it from me. I was going to say this is the Empire Strikes Back of this sort of like Rage trilogy. And it's fantastic. There is a narrative shift. I mentioned the fact that, when you think about it, there's not a lot of infected shenanigans going on. I mean, we get that sort of entry point, and then everything else is really about the human story here and how the humans are the monster. I was worried about how the Jimmy character was going to kind of come off, and I think it's done in a way that just works, I think, thematically and symmetrically with what Ralph Fiennes is sort of going through and what the civilization is actually going through in terms of rebuilding. And I just, it's so brilliant. Yes, there is brutality in this, from the opening scene to the scene that we are all talking about. It is gruesome. I'm surprised some people didn't just check out or walk out at that point, because there's that level of violence. It was too much. But then this storyline that we get with Ralph Fiennes and the Alpha. So what I'm afraid of is that some of our diehard fans are going to watch that storyline and sort of be like, "Oh, come on," you know. And I think that that's what's so great about that, is that the storyline with Ralph Fiennes and the Alpha is such a huge swing, but it's also based in science as well. We'll talk about that in the spoilered section. But I just really adored that storyline, and I adored Ralph Fiennes' performance here. He is such an amazing actor. What is he, like, in his 60s or something? I don't know. His body's incredible, but like, I think we have underappreciated his body of work. I mean, maybe not Present Company, right? But I'm just saying that, like, I don't, there's The English Patient, there's Schindler's List, but like, even all the other stuff that Ralph Fiennes is in, and yes, I'm including The Avengers, folks. He's so good in, and he nails this. And we'll get into it in the spoiler section, because his character is just so absolutely amazing.
He's almost too reliable, I think. I think he's so reliable that he's just taken for granted. The fact that he can come into something like Harry Potter, and I would even say the Harry Potter films, like, he's brilliant as Voldemort, but no one ever thinks about it because it's just this big blockbuster monolithic thing that goes on. But
and he's got
was
the
a hard
makeup
thing to get. Yeah, but most people would have screwed that up. It's not easy to play that role. And he's just terrific in everything he does. And I agree. I think he's absolutely wonderful in this. And it's in the first film, which was pretty much, I said when we talked about it, that I think Alfie Williams, the kid?
Yes.
He carries that film, and he's great in this too, but he takes much more of a back seat. He's sort of sitting off to the side, traumatized, and we do still follow him. He is central. But you've got these really two shining towers of performance in this one between Ralph Fiennes and Jack O'Connell.
Yeah.
Amazing.
O'Connell is, I mean, listen, when I was watching this, I was thinking back to how, like, he was in, I think it was called Money Monster or something. He was the guy that held up the studio with Julia Roberts and Jodie Foster. He was in Unbroken.
Yeah, that's where I saw him
But he
first.
never really punctured the zeitgeist to become the next big thing, and he was touted as like the next big thing. But he's so great in this.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is dripping with charisma, this performance. Like, this really should break him through. Like, he needs to get a lot more roles out of this, I hope, because this
I
is
hope so.
else.
I mean, listen, he's so menacing in this. He was menacing in Sinners. I mean, and he got to dance in Sinners, which was great. But this film is, it's so compelling and immersive, and there's just, it's fantastic. I think everybody needs to see it. So yeah,
they do, and we need to shout out, as it Chai Lewis-Parry as the Alpha. My God, this man, I want him to get more work, because what he can do with just this
grunting and looking,
and you see the way that his mind starts. Oh God, without getting these spoilers, he deserves a lot of attention.
Can I say something about him that I read? And it's not a spoiler. I read today, I think it was on Wikipedia, that he is wearing a full body prosthetic. Is that not his? Is he not that big? Like, muscly?
I thought he was big and muscly like that.
He's twitching his muscles and stuff. I don't know if maybe because he's got all the veins on him, maybe it's a thin
I think
thing
that's
just the veins.
Thin. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think, it's it's to give that weathered sort of like zombie appearance, the skin, but I think he's definitely a large stature man. How weird would it be to be an actor and then in media interview after media interview hey, that's a big prosthetic. Is it anything like the real thing? Like, I would just be like, please don't
Ask another
ask me about
question.
my dick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't ask me about my dick. But anyway, I think everybody should see this. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Any spoiler free last thoughts on 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple before we adjourn?
I just think it's the best kinds of horror films are the horror films that give you the visceral thrills and the horror and the dread and the scares, the jump scares, good jump scares in this. So you're getting all the roller coaster ride of horror, but it's an incredible drama at the same time.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you've got films that
what?
can do both together. That's when you got something special.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so, a horror film that's got all of the like thrills of the roller coaster, but also makes you think and makes you ponder like our current society and where we're headed. Yeah. I think that's all anybody asks for, really. Is that too much to ask?
Probably is,
Anyway.
but we can get it sometimes. The odd one.
Sometimes, yeah. Mike, any other parting thoughts?
No, I haven't been this excited like for a third film in a trilogy in a very long time. So
Yeah, actually,
the
you know what?
anticipation, I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, other than the MCU, I don't know sequel trilogies lately where we've been like, can't wait for the second part, can't wait for the third part, right?
I am so stoked. And it takes a master to be able to build that anticipation and in a natural way continue that story, but adding humanity that the other one was in this hyper violent, overtly masculine way. This has much more of that feminine touch.
Speaking of feminine touch, because we discussed this on the Beaver trilogy or whatever, there is a level of inhibition to Ray Fiennes' performance here that I was like, oh my God. Like, thank you for being so free and open, and it's just, he's a master. It's great. It's great.
It's very physical, very physical performance, isn't it? He's using it's a real full body performance, not just being naked,
literally,
but even just the way he moves. It's such a big thing. I love how one of his character notes is he just likes dancing. That's what he does. He's living on his own in this thing. He's just grooving all the time to Duran Duran. Of all things.
Yeah. Fantastic. All right. So this concludes our spoiler-free review of 28 Years Later, Bone Temple. If you love us, you'll certainly love our Podfathers, Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema, and Not a Bomb. Also, the OG's Night of the Living podcast. Obviously, Rob, he has his podcast, Caliber 9 from Outer Space. Look for our guest spot on there in January 30th. You also love Wild Dream podcast, Death by DVD, Raiders of the Podcast, also in the UK, Backlook Cinema podcast with Zoe, our YouTube brother, The Two Johns, and now for something a little bit different, Feminine Critique, Talk Without Rhythm with Goro. And of course, folks, be kind, be open, be vulnerable. That's where the art is. And we'll see you on the other side. All right,
Peace.
That's good. Let me stop.